Welcome to Guardians of Innovation, Patent and Trademark Law.
Hello and welcome to Guardians of Innovation. My name is Kevin Rosenquist and I am your host today. As always, I'm here with Vincent Lotempio, a registered patent attorney with over 25 years of experience helping inventors and entrepreneurs protect and profit from their ideas. We also have a very special guest today, Wayne Fromm, an award-winning Canadian inventor and entrepreneur, best known for creating the modern Selfie Stick. Wayne has brought dozens of products to market, from toys to travel accessories, and he's been featured in major outlets like Time Magazine and the New York Times. He's here to share his stories, the lessons he's learned along the way, and advice for inventors who want to bring their own ideas to life. First of all, Vincent, it's good to see you back.
Hey, thanks to hosting this again. I'd like to welcome Wayne as well. And I look forward to this one. I've been thinking about this podcast for a while.
Wayne, welcome to the show.
Well, I'm very happy to have been invited.
So, Vincent, how did you guys end up meeting? Where did your business relationship start?
Well, originally Wayne had a product with Mattel, and we worked on some licensing agreements with him with Mattel, and he actually, he's from Toronto and I'm from Buffalo. We actually met in a Tim Hortons coffee shop in Niagara Falls.
That's awesome. Good old Tim Hortons.
Yeah. Wayne, is that your recollection?
It's close enough. Actually,
Yeah,
I
but
think there was a patent attorney that I had met, John Thompson. I think I met you through John originally as well.
Exactly. Yeah. John, when he retired, I handed over a lot of his files to me, and Wayne was one of them. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Awesome. I love it. I love a good old meeting in a Tim Hortons. So, Wayne, let's go a little bit into your background. What first inspired you to become an inventor?
Well, I was about 4 years old, and we had an old-fashioned television that did not have a remote control. And I guess being innovative and maybe a little lazy at the time, I came up with a way to control the volume and the on-offs with strings and little disc assembly and putty onto the knobs.
At
So I think
4?
that was the start of it.
Holy, I have a 4-year-old. He ain't doing that. I can say that right now.
Doesn't have to. Every TV's got a remote. Don't worry
That's
about
true. That's a good point. I don't want him messing with it, really.
it.
Wow, that's an impressive
Yeah. The TVs don't
story.
even have buttons anymore.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
True.
Wow. All right. Well, so obviously, I teased this in the intro. The selfie stick became a worldwide phenomenon. I have one in there. Can you share the story of how that idea came to life, and maybe talk a little bit about what it took to bring it to market?
Absolutely. I was traveling quite often with my daughter. We would spend our time, brainstorming and catching up on trips. That was when, we were most comfortable to just explore ideas. And she's also very curious. So, I was letting her in on my world as well, places that I had gone to when I was a teenager. And we would try to take photographs. And this was, prior to the selfie stick, obviously. And we had the old digital camera, and I go way back in photography. Even as a kid, I was into photography. I used to develop my own, film with the dark room, and this, predates digital. But with some of the earlier digital cameras, we would try to, put it on a surface, whether it be a garbage can or a ledge of a bridge or whatever, and just try to jump into the picture. And you're always fumbling around with the self timer, or you're hoping that people aren't going to cross between you and the camera lens,
Yep.
before the timer takes off, and you don't know if you're properly centered and all this stuff. So that was it. I was thinking, there's got to be a way to do this without having to ask strangers, because even a well-intentioned stranger could accidentally drop your camera,
Sure.
or they could have suntan lotion on their hands, or whatever. And what are you going to do if it's your only camera and it drops and breaks, or worse, somebody runs off with it? So that's what set my mind in motion, and I kept thinking, well, how can I elevate this in a way that is practical and easy, and will go through airport security? Because I was thinking about tourism and families. My family albums, my dad is rarely in any of our group shots. He was always the photographer.
Mhm.
So that was really the inspiration to it, was just trying to get family shots.
Interesting. I mean, we've all been there. I mean, well, most of us that are that remember the days before the selfie stick. So yeah, definitely remember that. Did you get much resistance or doubt as you were developing it?
Oh, tons,
Yeah.
tons. I have friends from all over the world, and I was asking people from different cultures. Friend in South Korea said, "Oh no, no one ever used that. It's too vain. We're more humble, etc." It's
Are we?
everybody gave me kind of quizzical responses. They didn't know. They didn't know what to make of it. So I had to keep pushing forward, and I had backup plans. If it didn't work out, I always thought, well, it can be something that a clothing store can use to put clothes on a top rack or something. I didn't know where this would go, but I kept proceeding.
So talk about how you brought it to market.
Um, so I was reaching out everywhere, people that I knew in different industries, people, this was way back when infomercials were still a thing, and bouncing it off people, and nobody saw the potential at the time. And I just kept thinking, okay, you know what? I have history in the toy industry, and toy industry, we have a lot of expert engineers. They weren't used to something that's really not a toy, but they also know that they have to come in on budget, which was something that was important to me as well. This had to retail in my mind, in the 1999 range, $19.99 range. So I was in China, went to a prototype shop, and I just kept working. I told them that I want this to have tripod legs. It's got to be easy for all, people all ages to open and close without, hurting their fingers in any way or getting, stuck between the segments. They kept saying it's really not possible, and I kept saying no, we've got to do it. I just sat there for 2 weeks, back and forth every day. Had to be waterproof, as I said. It had to go through airport security. It had to be lightweight. Had to be unbreakable. I wanted to put, in those days, even a DSLR on it, which were much heavier
Much
cameras.
heavier, yeah.
And I wanted people to be able to have a really strong grip so that it doesn't, so even if it bent, I didn't want it to break. So the original ones had ABS plastics. Then I was working with metal rods, studying umbrellas. It was a long road. It was probably a 10-year overnight success.
10-year.
Yeah,
Ten
yeah.
Wow.
year overnight success. Yeah, but Wayne, didn't you go like to the Olympics and then you got on QVC?
Yeah, we did QVC first. So I launched it in Canada on the shopping channel originally, and it sold out. We did very, very well. I then went into the New York City area, and I was pitching to all the different stores there, B&H Photo, J&R at the time, Ritz Camera. And it was a interesting response. They thought there was something to it, but they weren't quite sure. And finally, I did get the break. I kept going after QVC, and then they trained me to be an on air guest. They wanted me to be the presenter all the time, not anyone else. So I kept going back and forth, and we sold out on every occasion. And the problem I discovered over time was that unless I was demonstrating it, either in a store or if a store member, staff member demonstrated, nobody knew what it did. On a shelf, it was just sitting there, and that took years. I did photo shows, PMA. I did consumer electronics shows. Eventually, I gave out 1,000 free samples at the Consumer Electronics Show to all the, at that time, influencers, people like David Pogue in the New York Times, and all these different people that were attending CES got a sample, and that's when the momentum started to build on this.
So, what did you encounter any challenges when it comes to patents or defending this intellectual property?
Many, many,
Yeah.
sure. I would do trade shows. I would see a knockoff of mine because as it was gaining momentum, it was also gaining popularity, and the eyeballs of the counterfeiters were noticing as well.
Hmm.
So somebody had an exact duplicate at a show. It was a company out of China. I approached them, not explaining or announcing who I was, and I just said, "Wow, what is this?" And he gave me a demonstration. I said, "Oh, who created this?" He said, "I did." I said, "Oh, interesting, interesting." So, we tried all the different routes. The most effective eventually was, it was called the Amazon Neutral Patent Program, and that was where you present your patent to Amazon. The infringers present, their arguments. Of course, once you start challenging people, Vincent will tell everybody about declaratory judgments and people trying to you know, prove your patent shouldn't have existed, and dispute the claims and whatnot. So mine was subjected to all of that, and we prevailed on both, on the DJ and on Amazon, and that set a precedent. Um, so it helped rein in, and we got a lot of licensing deals, as well as me continuing my own very professional version called the Quick Pod, which we focus and specialize on professional athletes and divers around the world.
That's awesome. Yeah, I can definitely also see that influencer thing working out, because that's when I feel like when that really took off was when people were vlogging and doing stuff like that. It's really trying, because when you go on vacation, I see all sorts of people with a selfie stick. Like just video themselves for their YouTube channel, their travel channel, whatever they're doing. But
Well,
that's
Kevin,
super
one of the
interesting.
things you have to realize is, when Wayne did this, there was no such thing as a dual camera phone where you can just stick it on
Right.
the end and it would work. It was just the camera, right? So there was a lot more limitations to it back then.
Mm-hmm.
Once the camera, on the phones came out where you could look into the camera and see yourself and that kind of thing, that changed the dynamics of it itself. But I got lucky enough that I hooked up with Wayne, and Wayne is such a good person, at being able to market himself. You have to do three things as an inventor, and Wayne could tell you this. You have to be able to manufacture, market, and distribution for the product. And Wayne is just he knows how to navigate this, and he actually got us and got him and I went along for the ride on a national television show called The $1 Million Genius on the History Channel. And of course, I went up to Wayne's house in Toronto and we filmed for 3 hours and I get on it for 15 seconds. But the one thing that I said, and I could ask Wayne about this, is look, it's not easy. It's not going to happen to everybody, but it can happen to you. Look, it happened to Wayne. And even the night of that this was aired for the first time on national television on the History Channel, I turned to my wife and said, How the hell did I get here? How did I get there? Wayne, how did you get there? I mean, how did you, they always say the 2,000-mile journey starts with the first step, and when you look forward from that step, it looks like an insurmountable mountain to climb. But when you're on the top of the mountain, you look back and you say, how did I get here? What kind of advice could you give to inventors of how to get there, Wayne?
It's persistence, it's focus, it's like training for a marathon. It's never ending. You have to work 24/7. You're thinking about it at all times. You're thinking about what can go wrong, thinking of intentional use and unintentional use, thinking about heat and cold. With the selfie stick, with my brand, it's salt waterproof, it's military rated. You can freeze it, you can submerge it in salt water, you can put molasses on it. It's still going to come out at the end of the day. So I'm relentless in my pursuit for perfection. And it's everything from the product itself to the packaging to the sell sheets to the presentation at trade shows to just PR in general. Attention to detail. Uh, People, I caution them, if it's not just having an idea, it's the execution, because a lot of people have ideas.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about execution.
And the willingness to put the time and effort that you just talked about in, because yeah, it takes over your life a bit.
Yeah, you'll get a lot of rejection. You'll get a lot of setbacks. Um, office actions for patents, all sorts of things, declaratory judgments and counterfeits and uh, compliance issues when try to go on e-commerce these days with TikTok or Amazon. There's you're dealing with a lot of bots and just form
Mm-hmm.
letters going back and forth saying, you don't do this, you don't do that. Even if you do and provide everything, you still have issues. So you have to have a thick skin, and you just have to keep going forward, having hope, hope and energy.
Do you have a general creative process, or does it kind of vary depending on the product you're working on?
I think there's a process. I tend to try to think of things that I would like, and or my daughter or children in general, because I've always loved the fact that children can play and they can even be beside each other not talking, but they're each playing, whether it's Lego or whatever. And as adults, we lose that.
Yeah.
Everything becomes we have a chore to do, whether it's taking out the garbage or cleaning the house or this or that, making dinner. I like to let my mind wander as if it's a child. So I try to think like a child and just outthink adults, basically.
Well, Wayne, what about your book? And you're trying to give like a roadmap and
Hmm.
instruction to inventors. So what's the process that you want to share with inventors and entrepreneurs, and how do how are you going to attack that in your book that you're writing right now?
Yeah, so I've just completed the book, and we're going to have a link on my website, which is FrommWorks, which is my last name, FROMM works.com. There'll be a drop-down menu to the book. It's the Inventor Playbook, and I go through not just all the challenges, but what you have to do as a person to get there. And as I alluded to a little earlier, this constant focus and immersing yourself in the whole dynamics of this, just thinking about it all the time. I'm sure it's like a lawyer preparing for a case. You just have to think about all the possibilities. And so when or if somebody comes to me and there's a problem I see today that no one's tackled that I know of, and it's not something I'm necessarily going to tackle, but just a patio and umbrella, like where you've got your big table outside, large umbrella, 8 foot diameter, and try to open or close it. Now you have to kind of duck underneath so you don't get hit in the eyeball while you're cranking this thing.
I know. I always feel like I look like an idiot when I do that.
It
Like,
makes no sense that we don't have motorized ones that are safer, and we don't have to worry about hurting ourselves as we open or close it. Or you have to remember which way is it, clockwise or
right.
counterclockwise, to open or close. Like, these are just the simple things that people should just be curious about. Question everything, saying, okay, I get it, but why is it that way? Can it be better? Has it been done? And that's where doing a lot of research comes in. AI is very helpful these days. It's not just a matter of doing a quick Google search or going to your local Walmart. You want to study internationally anything and everything that might have existed ahead of that. So in my book, I walk people through all of that, and I'm not trying to discourage anyone, but at the same time, I say, before you get to chapter 2, does this chapter 1 make sense to you? And can you follow those personality characteristics? Are you prepared for this journey? So I'm walking people through that, and I offer a lot of practical advice and lessons that I've learned along the way that can save people a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Um,
that's a great way to approach it, Wayne. A lot of times I tell clients about this 2,000-mile journey, and that you got to walk from New York City to Los Angeles, and you got to find the Mississippi River and cross it, and you got to go through over under the Rocky
Mhm.
Mountains, walk through the desert,
Yeah.
and find Los Angeles, and don't end up in Las Vegas. But if you knew all those problems from day one, maybe you wouldn't do it. But when you get to those problems, as you approach them, you just conquer it and you just keep moving forward. I don't know what's a better way to do it, but I try to say the same thing. I'm not trying to discourage you. I'm not trying to encourage you. I'm just trying to let you know this is what it's going
Yeah.
to take.
I absolutely agree with you. And I have everyday examples. I'm now focused on STEM for children, STEAM and STEM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And this newest product that I have for kids is the Snoopy Magic Mixer. So this is a safe mixer that I spent a lot of time perfecting the engineering on. So basically, it will not turn on. It's impossible to turn on unless it's in the lid in the cup. And once it's in, it creates this very powerful vortex. It's spinning at 15,000 RPMs. It's very quiet as well. So originally it was meant for drinks, so kids can create fun drinks and be hydrated and have fun at the same time. And their parents and grandparents all know Snoopy, and it's a follow up to the Snoopy snow cone machine and everything else. But then I started to think, you know what? In addition to that, I'd like to teach kids all sorts of things. So I've come up with the STEM version. So this is the same mechanism, the same IP, and it comes with its own cup as well with the safety lid. And it's going to come with 30 experiments that I'm co-creating with a PhD, a scientist, to teach kids everything about light reflection to oil and water to emulsification to sound, and how the sound waves change when the motor's turning and the water's turning, or just having confetti in there with a tornado. Where we explain all of the science behind this, even how the circuit works and why a motor spins. So this has been my latest focus right now is this whole STEM angle, because I love inspiring kids' minds, and that's the direction that I want to continue. To work, not just for my grandkids too. I've got two little curious guys. One is 4 and one is 2, and that'll be my legacy if I can inspire more children. Because a lot of my toys they're great and they're still out there. The Beauty and the Beast Magic Talking Mirror. It's been 30 years. People are still writing me. Where can I get one? I want one for my child. And I used to sleep with it and this. So I love the fact that these are legacy toys and legacy products.
All right, well, that's all for today's episode of Guardians of Innovation. A huge thank you to Wayne Fromm for joining us and sharing his insights. If you'd like to learn more about Wayne's journey or pick up his new ebook for inventors, be sure to check out his work online. And if you're an inventor looking to protect your own ideas, visit lowtempiolaw.com to connect with Vincent and his team. Wayne, how can people get that ebook again?
Go to my website. We're going to have a drop down menu. So fromworks.com, FROMMWORKS.com, and there'll be a drop down menu to link to the book. And there's a free preview edition as well. So I'll send Vincent a link to the free preview so people can, get the first 3 chapters and then decide if they want to go further.
Absolutely. I'll make sure I get that on
Yeah.
in every place that gets posted.
Yeah, the full book is $35. It's be an instant PDF download.
Love it. All right. Well, Wayne, thanks so much. Vincent, always great to see you as well. Thank you. Thank you both. Great episode. Really enjoyed the talk.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.